signal processing 430. So we will discuss that one, how we can able to program that one. So what are the basic architecture of the MSP 430? We will discuss first thing. After that, we will see what are the options we are having for the programming the MSP 430. So in that one, we will see the two options. One is the CC Studios and second one is the Energia. We will try to cover both the things. Okay. So next, let's start the session. Okay. So first, we need to know the characteristic of a microcontroller to fit in an application. So whenever we are designing an embedded system, we need to know the characteristics. What are the characteristics of the microcontroller to fit in that particular application of the embedded system? So these are the characteristics. So integration. So we need to able to implement whole design into a single chip. So this is the one of the characteristics. And if you go for the cost of the microcontroller must be very low. So because so the total embedded system cost may increase if you increase the art of the microcontroller cost. That's right. Next, if you go for the clock frequency compared to the DSP devices, we require approximately 100 megahertz. So that is nothing but 100 MIPS, million instructions per second. So that much fastness we require for the embedded system, almost. Power consumption, we require very less power, very low power. So it must be operated by battery also. So the battery must be having a long run. That's why the power consumption of the microcontroller must be very low. Next, if you go for the bits of the microcontroller, it's going to be having a 4 bits to 32 bits. So we can offer any one of the thing. Memory, so it's going to be having a limited memory, usually less than the 1 megabyte, something like that. Next, we need to have the more number of input output devices so that we can able to connect large number of devices. Next. So with this, so these are the characteristics of the microcontroller to sit into a embedded system. Okay. So after this, we will go for the MSP 430 main characteristics because MSP 430 is one of the microcontroller. So in this one, we are having a all the things. So integration is available. All the whole design is implemented in a single chip. Okay, so the cost of the MSP 430 is a very low, and it's going to be having a, it can be consuming very less power. We will see that one. So it's going to be having a 16 bit, something like that. So here, so the main characteristics of the MSP 430 is so low power consumption. So this is the important characteristics of the MSP 430. So it will consume very low power. You can able to see microamperes. So zero point 0.1 microamperes for the RAM data retention, 0.8 microamperes for the real-time clock mode operation, and 250 microamperes for active operation, whatever the active operation is going to be having. So remaining things are low power. So these are very low power. So that's why MSP 430, one of the main characteristics is the very low power device. So it can operate in the very low voltage, ranging from the 1.8 volts to 3.6 volts. So the clock startup is less than 1 microsecond. In less than 1 microsecond, the clock will start. And the leakage, port leakages. So there we are going to be having a power consumption. So the power leakage is less than 50 nano amps. That must have the less current is going to be leaking there. Next, the one important thing is zero power brownout reset. So whenever there is a from the power fluctuations, we are having a brownout reset. Okay, these are the characteristics. And if I go for whatever I have told you in the first slide, the characteristics of the microcontroller, you can apply here. So in on chip, we are having these are the features. So in some MSP 430 G2553, so this is one of the frequently used in the academics. So MSP 430 G2553. So there we are having a 10-bit ADC, 10-bit ADC. So we can available in the different versions. So in the different versions of the MSP 430, we can have a 10, 12, 16-bit ADCs. Okay. Next, we are having a 12-bit dual digital unlockable DACs. Next, so we are having a comparator, so 8-bit comparator. So that 8-bit comparator, so that is going to be gated with the timers. So we can able to precision comparator. Next, we are having a operational amplifier. We are having a supervised voltage, supply voltage supervised. So these are the on-chip features. In the on-chip itself, we can able to available these peripherals. Okay. Whereas if I go for the CPU, so this is a 16-bit RISC CPU, reduced instruction set computer. So the 16-bit RISC CPU, so compact core design to reduce the consumption cost, is going to be having a 16-bit data bus and 27 core instructions. The instructions are very less, that's why it's going to be called, okay, reduced instruction set. So all the instructions will be executed in the only within the 1 to 3 clock cycles, and it's going to be having a 7 different addressing modes. So it's going to be having a vectored interrupt capability. So these are the characteristics of the CPU, MSP 430 CPU. So above one is the unlock features, on-chip unlock features. Below one is the CPU features. Next, so it's going to be having a flexibility. So some may have a RAM capacity, something like this. It's going to be having a up to 256 kilobyte of the flash. There we can able to put our data or program, and we can able to flash it. So it's going to be having a up to 100 pins. Now the MSP 430 G255 is available in the 16 pin. 16 pin is going to be having a very less than the 16 pin, and is going to be go up to 100 pins are going to be available. Next, we are having a USART, Universal Synchronous Asynchronous Receiver Transmit, I2C integrated inter-integrated circuit communication, and we are having a timers also. So these are the flexibilities we are going to be having in the MSP 430. So some versions may have all these things, and some may having a only limited one. So we are having a LCD drivers. Almost the USART, I2C, and timers are almost available in the every version of the MSP 430. Where the LCD driver is available in some versions. So embedded emulation. So and many more peripheral models are going to be available in the MSP 430. We will look after that one. So what are the things we are going to be available in the MSP 430 G2553? So next, if we go for the microcontroller performance, so then this is going to be having the instruction processing either bits or bytes or both. The instruction can be processed in any one of the things. So it can be processed in the bits mode, or it can be processed in the byte mode, or it can be processed in the code mode. So here we are going to be having a reduced instruction set. As we have already told that, so it's going to be having a 27 core instructions only. So that's why we can able to say that this is the reduced instruction set microcontroller. So compiler efficient. So this is going to be having a compiler. Wide range of peripherals are available. Flexible clock system are going to be having. We will see that in MSP 430 we are having a 3 different clocks we are able to operate. One is going to be called as a clock, M clock, and we are going to be having it like that. We are having a different clocks are going to be available in the MSP 430 G2553. Okay, so next. So this is how the MSP 430 G255. These are academically we can so all over we can able to use this one MSP 430 G2553. So this is the launch file MSP 430 G2553. So you need to look at here. So this is divided into the 2 parts. You can able to see here. These are two parts. It's divided into 2 parts. So one is this is the one thing. So where the MSP 430 G255 board is available. So this is the part number I am telling that. So MSP 430 G2553. So this is the part number. Okay. So whereas if you see above one, this is the emulation board. This is the emulation, embedded emulation. Okay. So from where we can able to emulate, or we are going to be connecting a USB, and we can able to dump the program into the MSP 430 G2553. Okay, so you can able to see these are connected, 6-pin connectors, and we are having a crystal. So here X in and X out. So these are the chip pin out. So you can able to say as here we are going to be having a two ports P1.0 to P1.7 and P2.0 to P2.7. Here we are having P2.0 to P2.7. These are the ports. So these can be utilized as a GPIO, general purpose input and output ports. So where we can able to connect our input and output devices. And you can able to see here we are having a two buttons. One button is a P1.3. P1.3 is connected to the one push button, and another one is going to be connected to the reset button. So these are the power connecting buttons. Either we can able to give the power from here, or we can able to connect the power from here also. Okay, so these are the different things which are going to be presenting on the MSP 430 G2553. So this divided into the two parts. One is the emulation part, and second one is the actual MSP 430 G5523. So these are very okay. So this is how the MSP 430 going to look like. Next, if you see the internal functional block diagram of the MSP 430 G2553, so these are how the total functional block diagram is going to be look like. So here, if you see the left side, here we are going to be having something like one is a clock system and second one is the CPU, and these are the emulation one. You can able to see that. So JTAG requires the 4 wires. There is a SPI by wire requires only 2. That's the emulation. So with this, we can able to connect to the emulation board and we can able to dump into the MSP 430 CPU. Okay, if you see here, the first one is the clock system. So the clock system is going to be having a 3 different clocks. One is going to be called the auxiliary clock, system clock, and main clock. So these are the clocks we are going to be having. Okay, so from this clock, so if you see here, this is the 16-bit microcontroller, which is a RISC architecture, and is going to be following Van Neumann architecture, where we can able to have the address bus and data bus. Okay, so both can be having like this, and here we can able to have this memory. The first part I am going to is memory. So one is the flash memory and second one is the RAM. As we told that the flash memory is available from the 2 kilobytes to the 16 kilobytes on the depending upon the different variations. And we are having a RAM. The RAM is going to be having with the 256 to 512 byte of the RAM. Okay, so next you can able to see here. So these are the buses. By using these buses, we can able to communicate and we can able to send the data as well as the addresses. Okay, so after this one, so you can able to see here we are having a ports. Actually, in MSP 430 G2553, we are having only 2 ports. P1X is nothing but P1.0, P1.1, P1.2, like that, P1.8, 8-bit input output, which are the interrupt capabilities, and these are going to be pull up, pull down resistors. We will see that what is going to be pull up and pull down resistors. So you know that about the interrupt capability. Whenever interrupt is going to be occur there, it will be activated and it will work according to the interrupt. So like that, here it is going to be having a port 1 is the 8-bit 8 ports are going to be available, which can be act as a input or output. Next, port 2 also having a 8, so these are going to be having a same like this. So port 2.0 to port 2.7. So port 3, some of the versions of the MSP 430 is having a port 3, but in our MSP 430 G2553, we don't have this one. Port 3 is not available. Next, if I go for the next thing, peripherals. What are the peripherals we are going to be having? So before going to the peripherals, I will go for this one, brownout protection. So as I have told that, in order to protect the power variations, so we require the brownout protection. We need to protect MSC 430 from the power variations. Whenever the power is going to be having a less than the specified one, so then this circuit will come activated and it will protect the entire system. So that's how the brownout protection is going to be happening. Next, if I go for the peripherals, so first it's going to be having the ADC. You can able to see that this MSP430G2553 is having a 10-bit 8-channel auto scan with the one channel DMA, with the one channel with the DMA. So this is the unlock to digital converter, 8-bit unlock to digital converter. So this is the peripheral which is available onboard peripherals. And we are going to be having a comparator. So comparator, what the use of the comparator is going to be giving the greater than, less than, equal to, like that. It will compare the signals. So for that one, so we are going to be having a 8-channel comparator A plus. You can able to call it the comparator A plus. So next we are having a watchdog timer. This is a 15-bit watchdog timer. So in the 15-bit watchdog timer, so we will see the what is the use of this watchdog timer. It continuously watches the time. So I will tell you that what is the use of this one. Next we are having a timers. So here we are going to be having a timers like this, 2 timers, timer 1 and timer 0. So there we are going to be having a capture and compare registers also. 3 capture compare registers are available for the timer A and timer 1 and timer 0. So timers are going to be utilized for the capturing a particular event to occur. It will capture that particular time. So when that's going to be occurring, that's going to be held by we can able to capture by using these timers. So for example, let us say a cycle wheel is there. So you need to know how many times it is going to be rotated per second. So in that case, we will use these timers. We will switch on the timer and we will try to know how many rotations of the cycle is going to be having in a particular second. So this is some simple example about the timers. Next, here we are going to be having a communications. So like here we are going to be having a SPI, I2C, Universal Serial Communication, USCIA not and USCIA SPI, like that. We are going to be having a communication thing here. So all the communication, serial communications, and all are going to be done by using this block. So these are the different blocks which are going to be functional block diagram of the MSP430G2553. So where we are going to be having something like this. Next, after this one, so we will go for the address space. So you can able to see this is the memory map, how the RAM is going to be divided. So the RAM and ROM, total memory, how it is going to be divided. So you can able to see here the map into a single and contiguous address spaces. So there, first we are going to be having a ROM, that's a flash. So there, you know that the flash or ROM is going to be consisting of the all the code tables and the hardcoded constant. Everything is going to be available here. Next, information memory. So where the variables are going to be stored. So whenever we are going to be powering up or powering down, so they in this one, so the variables are going to be storing in this information memory. So next, it can be information can be used as a code memory. Next, we can able to have the boot memory. So the boot memory is somewhat very similar to the flash. So where we are going to be putting the code which is required at the reset. Whenever we give the power up, so then we need to go to there and it will execute that particular thing. So in order to boot up properly. Next we are having a RAM. So RAM is going to be utilized for the both code and data, but particularly we will use for the data here. So peripheral modules, we are going to be having a, we need to give, so IO based memory addressing. So that's why we need to give the peripheral models also from addresses, IO addresses. So next we are having a special function register. So some peripherals are going to be mapped into the special functions also. So like this is the memory map starting with the 00H2 FFH. So it's going to be having something like this. So interpret table is available first. So from 0 is going to be having a special function register. So these are the 16 special function register. Next we are going to be having the 112 FF to the 8-bit peripheral modules. So where we can able to byte each and every byte is going to be having this 8-bit peripheral models. That's why each and every peripheral models is going to be given one address. So there's a byte address. Next we are going to be having a word 16-bit peripheral models. So it's going to be starting with the 100 and ended with the 200H. So this there we can able to give the addresses of the 16-bit peripheral models, and we are having a RAM. So the RAM is going to be having a two parts. It's going to be word and it's going to be byte. So the lower addresses are going to be byte, whereas the upper addresses can be accessed by using the word. So next is going to be having a boot memory and a flash memory. So there after that we are having a flash memory and with interpreter. So this is the memory map for generic MSP 430. So if I go for the particular thing MSP 430 G2553, so there the memory map is going to be handled. It is very similar to this one. So but instead of interrupt vector table, we come here. See here. So first it is going to be having a flash RAM, interrupt vector table. Afterwards, after interrupt vector table, some of the flash RAM is available. So there, after that one, some reservation is there. And here we are going to be having a RAM, 16-bit peripherals, 8-bit peripherals, and special function units. So we can able to access, this is the access method, how we can able to access. Some memory location can be accessed by the byte and some memory can be accessed by the word also. So next, so we will go for the CPU of the MSP 430. So try to understand the CPU, so then we can able to understand the whole thing. So we are not going for the peripherals as of now. So we will try to discuss about the CPU of the MSP 430. Later we will jump into the programming. Okay, so if I go for the CPU, so this is going to be having a RISC reduced instruction computing architecture. It's going to be having a 27 physical instructions and 24 emulated instructions. So what is the difference between the physical instructions and emulated instructions is, so in the physical instructions we are having a opcodes. Directly we can able to have the default opcodes. Whereas in the emulated instructions, so the assembler and compiler will generate, depending upon our requirement, it will generate the mnemonic. So there's the difference between the basic difference between the physical instructions and emulated instructions. So total core instructions are the 27 only. So we can able to have the emulated instructions also. This provide, so because of this reduced instruction, so this MSP 430 is simpler, and so it's going to be having a faster the instruction decoding also. So next is going to be using the Van Neumann architecture. So it's going to be having a Van Neumann architecture where we can use the common memory bus for the address and data. So that's why this is the Van Neumann architecture. Next. So if I go for next one, so a RISC architecture is going to be having something like this. So it's going to be using the three-stage instruction pipeline. You know what is meant by instruction pipeline. So in the instruction pipelining, we are having it, the instruction execution, we are having a, let us take as a, important thing is the three stages. One is the instruction fetch, second one is the instruction decode, and third one is the instruction execution. So after this one, we are having a some more two stages. So read or write, reading from that one, reading from the memory, or writing into the memory. So, but the three stages are important. So if you mix up this all these stages parallelly, then we are going to be having a pipelining to improve the fastness of the execution. We are going to be having this pipelining. So here we are having a three-stage instruction pipelining is going to be having. So instruction decoding can be done easily, fastly. So it's a 16-bit ALU, and we can able to utilize the 4 dedicated registers. So for this instruction execution, fetching, decoding, and execution. So we are having a 12 working registers also. So if you go for the address bus, so we are having a 16-bit. So we can able to, according to logic, we can able to have the 16.4 kilobytes of the total memory. So this which include the RAM, flash, and registers. So all the things are going to be included in this 64 kilobytes. So you know that ALU can be having a arithmetic and logical operations, something like that, the logical operations like this, and it's going to be having a arithmetic operations also, and it can be having a status registers, so something like this. So it's going to be showing the status whether the overflow is going to be occur or a zero is going to be having a, after some operation, whether the total thing became as a zero or not. So the results is a negative number or not, and is there any carry flags are going to be occur. All these are going to be tell in the status register. So we will see where these stator registers are going to be having. So let us take, so in, see here we are having a special function registers which is going to be from 0 to 16. So in this 0 to 16 special function registers, so 4 registers have some dedicated function, whereas the remaining 2 registers work for the general purpose. Okay, so total 16. So we are the 4 registers will be indicated by using the R with the numericals. R0 is nothing but 0 register with the which is located in the 000H of the memory location, like that. So like that we are having a R0, R1, R2, R3. So these 4 registers are a dedicated function, and the remaining 12 registers are the general purpose registers. If I go for the R0, the dedicated function of the R0 is it will act as a program counter. You know that the program counter will point the address of the next instruction. So like that, so this R0 will act as a program counter which shows the address of the next instruction to be fetched. Okay, next R1 will act as, this R1 is a dedicated function. It's going to be having a dedicated function. The function of this R1 is a stack pointer. So the stack pointer will use in the 4 different situations. Something like that. First, it can be used in the push and pop. So to push and pop instructions. So to push, so we are going to be utilizing the stack. Next, we're going to be utilizing in the subroutines. So where we are going to be utilizing, internally utilizing the push and pop, and we are going to be having a offset calculations also. So they will in the subroutine. So we are going to be utilizing this stack pointer. Next, so third, we are going to be utilizing in the RET instructions. Whenever we are going to be using the RET subroutine return, so there we are going to be utilizing. Next, RET interrupt return. We are having interrupt returns. So there also we are going to be utilizing this stack pointer. So we are going to utilize it to actual PC value. Then it's going to be go for the interrupt, and after the encoding the return interrupt return, so then it need to put back the original content into the PC. So that thing can be done by using the stack pointer R1. So the addresses which stored by the stack pointer. Next, here we are having a R2 register. So the R2 register, the dedicated purpose of the R2 register is the status register. It will tell about the status of the CPU. So after some operation, so what the content of the CPU, what's the status of the CPU. So whether we are having any carry, or whether we are going to be having any zero, or is the negative number or not. So these things we know in the microcontrollers, we know this one. So NZC. Okay, so NZC. Next, after if you see this bit, third bit, this is the total 16 bit. R2 is a 16 bit register. Every register is a 16 bit register. I forgot to tell about that. So MSP 430 is the 16 bit microcontroller. It's having a 16 bit address and 16 bit data bus, and the registers which are going to be available in the MSP 430 is a 16 bit. So that's why you can able to see 0 to 15. So the first bit is a carry. So you know that carry flag. So it became as a 1 if there is a carry. 0 flag if it is if it is became as a 1, when it is going to be the results is going to be 0. Next, negative flag. So negative flag which is going to be negative, and GIE is going to be enabled to this one. So like this we are going to be having these different things. So like, so we can able to see SCG0, system clock generator. So which clock we are going to be utilizing, whether we are going to be having a digital control oscillator or loop. So like that. So like this we are going to be having. So V is going to be having a overflow variable. So this is the status register. Next, so after this one we are going to be having constant generator. This is the important thing. This is the important thing in the MSP 430. So to generate the emulated instructions, we require these constant generators. So the R2 and R3 will act as a constant generators. CG1, R2 is a CG1, R3 is the CG2. Okay, so there to implement the emulated instructions, there we are going to be utilizing. For example, let us take I'm having a clear destination, CLR DST. Destination must be cleared. So we can able to utilize that one. This is a single operand. So clear destination is a single operand. So then, so if you need to implement it in the emulator instructions, so that emulator instruction will be as a move R3 comma DST. So in the R3, if you see the R3, the R3 content is the 00H. Constant is the 00H. So if you require the increment, then we will go for the +1. So something like this, R3. So in the AS, we are going to be having another one which is going to be incremented like this, #1. So if you require the #1, then we can go for this one. So like that, it's going to be generating the constant values. The constant values is like this, 0, +1, +2, -1, +8, +4. So all this can be generated by using these constant generators. So constant generators are going to be utilized in the emulation section. Next, R4 to R15. These are the general purpose registers. So where we can able to store the data, registers, addresses, index values, all the things are going to be stored in these general purpose registers. So next, so with this, so if you see the addressing mode, so addressing mode is nothing but how to identify the operands, how to accessing the operands. Okay, there we are going to be having a 7 different operand addressing modes. So like register mode, index mode, symbolic mode, absolute mode, indirect register mode, indirect auto increment mode, immediate mode. So these are the examples. I have given some examples here. So how the register, so if we are having a register to register, then there is going to be called as the register. Index mode, how the index is going to be having. So R5 of this, 2 of R5 and 6 of R6. So moving that one. So like that, we are going to be having a 7 different addressing modes. So please go to the addressing modes. We are not covering this addressing mode. Just I have given the examples here. Next, you can able to see that. So we are having a emulated instructions also. So we can able to generate the emulated instructions by using these constant generators. So with this, we are going to be closing the architecture of the MSP430. So now we are going to be moving into the programming choice. So to program the MSP, we have 2 choices. One is the Code Composer Studio. Second one is the Energia. So the Code Composer Studio, why we need to go for the Code Composer Studio? So if you are need to become as an embedded engineer, if your students need to become as an embedded engineers, then they need to know internal architecture, how the instructions are going to be happening, how the peripherals are going to be utilizing these addresses, how the memory map, how the interrupts are going to be happening, how the ADC is going to be working. So to know the internally how they are going to be acting, then we need to go for the Code Composer Studio. The Code Composer Studio will be based on the embedded C, whereas the Energia, which is very similar to the Arduino. If you know the Arduino, then it is very simple to program the MSP430 in Energia. So that's the 2 differences. So in industry, they are mostly prefer this Energia to program the MSP430. Whereas in the academic and research purposes, so we will go for the Code Composer Studio. So see, so how the Code Composer Studio will look like. So this is the Code Composer Studio, functional global view. So first we are going to be having an editor, some editor. So where we are going to be writing the program, and we will give this as a .c program, and we will give to the compiler. The compiler will generate the assembly program. So there we are going to be generated the .asm. So assembler. So we can able to see this assembler here. So there, after that one, we are having a linker. So there we need to link the libraries, BIOS files, also the .lib. So then, so this OVK file become as a out. So then it's going to be having a mapping. So there, so we can able to debug, and we can able to put into the target board like this. So these are the functional overview of the Code Composer Studio. How the program is going to be written, how it is going to be debugged, how it is going to be how it is going to be run into the target board. So you can able to see here. This is the thing. So here we are going to be having a standard library, something like this. C compiler, assembler, standard library, linker, debuggers, and we can able to put into the target devices. So the Code Composer Studio, you can able to download by using a TI. So from the TI website, you can able to download the Code Composer Studio. The Code Composer Studio is having a two perspectives. One is the edit perspective and second one is the debug perspective. So here this is the Code Composer Studio, how it is going to be look like. So here if you see here we are going to be having a two perspectives. So you can able to choose as a edit here, or you can able to go for the debug. This is the debug. You can able to see. So if you debug, then this total entire code is going to be converted into the assembly code. Here you can able to see the mnemonics, assembly code, memory, everything. Okay. So here we are going to be writing the code. This is the editor where we are going to be. So this is the project space where we are going to be creating a project, and this is the console to know the errors. So these are the file tabs. So where we can able to create the file, everything. So these are two perspectives. So to create a file in the Code Composer Studio, so you need to click the file here. So this is the file. So go for the first, you go for the edit perspective. So go for the file, there create a new, then it will appear like this. Okay, there you need to select the target. So you need to select the target. So there we are going to be selecting MSP 430 G2553. You need to select the target. Okay, so after target, give the program name. So then you can able to go for the next. Then you can able to have this one. So this is how the program is going to be the Code Composer Studio. In the Code Composer Studio, how the program is going to be created. So for example, let us take, I'm having a blink LED by using a GPIO. So then how the program will be look like. So this is the simple circuit diagram. So I'm having a CPU MSP430G255. From there I'm having a GPIO. For the GPIO P1.0, I'm connected to the LED. So if I give the high, the LED will glow. If I give the low, the LED becomes as a off. So like this is going to be called as a blink program. So I need to blink the LED, switching on and off. The LED is going to be connected at the P1.0. Red LED, you will be able to say as the red LED. We are having a green LED also. So the red LED is connected to the P1.0. Next, the flow chart. You know this flow chart very well. First, start, disable the watchdog timer. So what is the use of the watchdog timer is, so to in some cases we need to restart the MSP430. For example, I'm having a weather monitoring station. The station is very far away from me, so I need to restart the program, restart the MSP430 after every 12 hours. Then what I will do is I will give the 12 hours time to the watchdog timer. Then after 2 hours, this watchdog timer will automatically restart the system. Okay, so it's continuously, if you don't disable this watchdog timer, so after some time, so in MSP430 is going to be having a time which is going to be called as a after every 2 seconds, I mean to say as a 10 seconds, it's going to be without having any program execution, then it's going to be continuously reset. Okay, so after this one, we are having a P1.0, we need to make as a output. So the port, here we are having a two ports, port 1 and port 2. In the ports, we are having a pins P1.0 to 1.7. Like that, port 2.0 to 2.7. So these ports need to make as a either output or input. So we need to make as a output because we are connecting the LED. That's why P1.0 must be make as a output. Next, we need to toggle the P1.0. With the delay, I need to toggle that one. Okay, so this is the main program, how the blink program is going to be look like. You can able to see a standard C procedure. It's going to be utilizing hash include MSP430.h, where the definition of the functions are going to be having. If you click this one in the Code Composer Studio, so you can able to see the every definition there. Next, we are going to be having a main. It will start with the main function. So first one is the watchdog timer control register. WTCL is nothing but watchdog timer control register. So the watchdog timer control register is a 16-bit timer control register. It's going to be look like this. So this is the lower byte, this is the upper byte. So the upper byte will hold the watchdog timer password, the lower byte will hold all these things like this. So there we are going to be having a like this. Here we are going to be having a watchdog hold. So if you give the watchdog hold as a 1, so then so it's going to be stop the entire watchdog timer. Okay, so we are going to be preventing continuous restart of the MSP430. So if we need to program, we need to stop the watchdog timer. In every line, in every program, the first line must be this one: watchdog timer control register, watchdog timer password, odd with the watchdog time hold. So in the watchdog time hold is a bit. So you can able to see, I can able to program the total word, or I can able to program with some particular bit. So that's why a particular bit is going to be given here. So if you combine these two, then the whole bit became as a 1. If I give this one is nothing but what is the meaning of that one is watchdog timer hold is a 1. I'm writing 1 there. So then the watchdog timer will stop. Next, P1 DIR is the 16-bit register. Sorry, this is the 8-bit register. P1 DIR is the 8-bit register. It will hold 8 bits IO devices. So 8-bit IO pins. So if I write 1, then particular pin became as a input. If I write as a 0, then that particular pin became as a output. So that's why I'm going to writing as a P 1.0 as a bit 1 as a output. So that's why, so I am writing as a 1 here. 1, if I write as a 1, it became as an output. If I write as a 0, it became as a input. So that's why I'm writing as a 1 here. Next, so while 1, it's continuously do this while program. So P1 XOR of bit 1 or 0 1, you can able to write down as a hexadecimal number as a 0x01 or bit 1, directly BIT with the capital letters 1. So the same thing. So bit 0, bit 1, bit 2, bit 3, bit 4, bit 5, bit 6, bit 7, bit 7 like that. So you can able to make any one of the pin which is going to be connected to the LED. So here defaultly we have 1.0. At 1.0 we are having a red LED. That's why we are taking the P 1.0. The output of the P 1.0 is going to be making as a high. So if I do the XOR operation, the XOR operation is a toggle. If you do the same XOR operation, then it's going to be toggle. First, it's going to be having a value 1. After 1, it's going to be having a value 0. The outputted value is a 1. Outputted value is a 0. So this is the software delay. So I'm giving the I value, do I minus while. So this will give the software delay. Okay. So this is now the total program. So which is going to be blinking the program, toggling the P 1.0. The red LED will toggle. So next, so I already told about this one, P1 DIR, P1 out. So each bit is going to be, we need to tell about the direction. The direction is nothing but whether we need to make as an input or output. So next we are having a P1 out. So from the output register, these are separate register. P1 DIR is the direction register. P1 out is a output register. Whether I need to write it as a 0 or 1. Okay. Hope you have understood this one. Next, we are having a next program which is going to be called as a LED control using the switch. So let us take, I'm having a LED, green LED, so which is connected to the P 1.6. Next, I have connected a switch with the P 1.3. 1.3 with the P 1.3. I have connected the switch, and P 1.6 I have connected the green LED. So by pressing the on and off, I need to make the LED glow. So here we are having two things. One is called as the pull up and pull down. So in microcontroller, the voltage must be stable. Either if you go for the logic, then it must be either in the 0 logic or 1. For example, I may take as my 0 logic as a 5 volt and 1 logic as a 0. So if the voltage appears between this one, so then there is the microcontroller will not respond. So In that case, we need to make the voltage constant value either 1 or logic 1 or logic 0. To make that one, we require the pull up or pull down resistor. So in the pull up resistor, if you are having a pull up resistor, if button is open, then VCC is directly connected to the microcontroller. Okay, if you press the button in the pull up resistor, then it became as a 0. So opening the switch is nothing but logic 1 and closing the switch is a logic 0 for the pull up resistor. That's the opposite for the pull down resistor. Okay, so that's how the pull up and pull down resistors are going to be. We need to select this logic. So whether we are going for the pull up or pull down. So that's why we need to know this one. So by using the one register, we need to select that. So this is the LED controller flow chart. So it will be started. So disable watchdog timer, set P1.6 as the output because this is the LED is connected, 1.3 as the input. So this is a pull up switch. The pull up switch is nothing but if I don't press the switch, the logic 1 is going to be applied. If I press the switch, logic 0 is applied. So we are selecting like that one. So we are going to be having a one register, SCL register. By using that SCL register, we will select that one. Next, we will check whether the button is pressed. So if button is pressed, turn off the LED. So button pressing is nothing but what happens? It gives the 0. So then the turn off LED will off. If the button is not pressed, the LED is on. So because we have used the pull up resistor, you may go for the pull down resistor. Then the thing is reversed. Next, so this is the main program. How it is going to be look like. So first, a watchdog timer controller must be stopped. Otherwise, it is going to be restart continuously. Next, P1 direct DIR register. So we need to make port 6. Port 6 is P1.6. P1.6 is nothing but we need to give us a 0x40 or bit 6 directly. BIT 6, you can able to give the bit 6 directly. Okay, next P1 REN. So here you can able to see the register. So selection of the register, selection of the pull up or pull down. So we are going to be given the 08. 08 is in the bit 7. Bit 7. B87 directly you can able to give. So P1 out. So we are going to be given the logic 1 here. So next, while 1 we are taking the P1 in. So the switch button is pressed or not. We are verifying here. If the button is pressed not pressed, the turn on LED. If the button is pressed, turn off the LED. By using a till symbol and negation, we can able to switch off this one. Okay, so this is how the LED controls is going to be having. So input, making the input and output. Next, we are having another thing which is called as the Energia. So I will show the Energia details so that you can able to do the things very easily. So Energia will look like something very similar to the our Arduino. Yes, so we can able to see here Arduino, Energia. So both will look like very similarly. So the IDE will look like very similar. Yes, you can see here. So it's going to be looking very similar to Arduino. So that's why we have learned Arduino there. Okay. You can able to go. This is the blank sketch. You can able to write the program here. You can able to execute. Go for the tools. There you need to select the MSP 430 G2253 like this, and you need to go for the port. You need to select the port. If you connect the MSP 430, the port will appear here. So we don't have a MSP 430 right now, so that's why I'm not connecting this one. Okay, so next, so we can able to have everything like this. If you go for the simple program, the program is going to be look like some very similar. So you can able to see here blinking of LED. So which is very similar to your Arduino programming. So here you can able to see define a red LED, a green LED. So I will tell you this one. So void setup function, loop function. So in the setup we are using the spin mode. The setting spin mode. You can able to see. You are using the digital write. Same digital write function we have used in the Arduino. So here we can able to see, utilize that one. Spin mode. So here we are having some functions LED1, LED2, S2 and internal temperature sensor can be alternative names like this. Red LED, red underscore LED, green underscore LED, push button S2, temp sensor like that. So pin mode, so if you need to go for the red LED which is connected to the P1.0, so you can able to write down like this directly, or you can able to write like this P1.0, 1_0. If you need to go for the green, P1_3, P1_6, P1_6, or you can able to directly go as a green_LED. So that's why you can able to see has defined LED as a red LED, has defined LED as a green LED. Directly you can able to use these keywords. Next, you are setting the pin mode. So LED is a output device. That's why LED is going to be connected as output, green and LED. So with the delay, we are going to be continuously blinking on and off. Blinking on and off. Next, you can able to see the push button also. The push button. So push button. So here push to. I am using the push to, and the LED which I have used is the green LED. So whatever the C program we have seen, similarly we can able to write down like this. So if a button is going to be here in the pin mode, you can able to see. We need to specify the pull up or pull down. Defaultly in Energia will take only pull up logic. Pull down logic is not available in the Energia. Simply by putting this code and executing here, you can able to same thing. So verify. So you need to upload. So before before upload, you need to check for what board you have connected, what port you have connected. Then only you need to upload the code. Then the code will execute in our board. So this is the how the Energia is going to be working. Okay. So with this, I'm completing the session. So if you are having any doubt, please put in the chat box.
Okay, thank you, sir. If you have any doubts, please share in chat box. Anybody having doubts?
Yeah. So why emulation part is extra in MSP 430? So in MSP 430, we are having a different emulation. Like we are having a JTAG interface, we are having a SPI by wire. So we can able to use any one of these emulators. Whereas in MSP 430, we are having a directly debugging into the port, into the MSP Arduino. So we are having options there. In MSP 430, we are having options.
Okay, good. Next, any questions? Okay.
Yeah. If you want to exchange the data between the two MSPs, we can use the SPI communication. There we are having a master and slave. One um, one MSP 430 will act as a master, and any number of slaves can be connected. So there we are having a different signals like clock selection. We are having a master in slave out, master out slave in, chip selection, like that. So by using that communication, we can able to send the data, or we can able to exchange the data between the MSP processors.
Lokesh sir, we got one more question. Hello. Hello, Lokesh sir.
Yeah, I am going through. I am going. Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I will tell you.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I had told you. Please compare the emulated and core instructions. So in the MSP 430, we are having a 27 core instructions where we can available the default opcode. Opcode is defaultly available. Whereas if I come for the emulated instructions, then the assembler and compiler will generate the mnemonics. For example, I can say as a clear the destination register I will take as a R12, for example. Clear CLR R12. I need to make the R12 as a 0. The content of the R12 must be made as a 0. I can go, this is the core instruction. One single operand core instructions. If I need to use the emulated instructions, then it became as a double operand, like move R3 comma R12. Then this R3 indirectly I'm specifying as a 0 value, constant generator 0 value. Then indirectly I am clearing the R12 register. This is the difference between the core and emulated instructions. Yes, somebody asked you if data will corrupted during the exchange process, then what we need to do, how it is find out. Yes, you need to go through the SPI communication. So there we are having a different things to find out the any errors are going to be happen there, or any corrupted data is having there. So we can able to go. If you know the SPI, please go through the SPI. So then we can able to understand this one. Okay. Anybody having any doubts? Any queries? Yes, somebody asked about can we do MSP using the Tinkercad? Yes, we can do the MSP 430. I think Arduino is available in the Tinkercad. We need to search for the MSP 430 also. Once I have seen there, so somebody may know or may not know about the Tinkercad. Tinkercad is a CAD tool where we can able to use the simulation of the microcontrollers like MSP 430, like Arduino. So without purchasing any board, we can able to simulate there. So because this is the pandemic situation, so we cannot able to purchase the board directly. So we can go there in the Tinkercad. We can simulate our program. Like Red Node, we are having another one. Yes. What are the advanced microcontrollers used in the industry today? So now, depending upon the application, they are having a different microcontroller. So now we are having a SoC also, system on chip, like a Raspberry Pi. So we are having a industrial IoT devices also, IIoT devices also. So there we are having a OSS. So specifically, if you ask for specifically in specific applications, what are the advanced microcontrollers we can able to say? So generic, we cannot able to tell like that. These are the advanced microcontrollers we are having. So depending upon the speed, depending upon the input output capabilities, memories, so they are going to be having a different things.
Okay, thank you, sir. Okay, is there any questions?
Yeah, I hope we can able to close the session.
Okay. So, so I have is there one more question, sir? Hello, Lokesh, sir.
Yeah, yeah.
Here one more question. Sir. Here one more question is there, sir. Whether Tinkercad is support the MSP
Yeah,
430?
up to now I don't know that one, but Arduino is going to be supporting the Tinkercad. Please go through the there. You can able to find out that one easily.
Okay, okay, sir.
I can surely tell Arduino is supported by the Tinkercad, but MSP 430 I don't know that one. We need to go through that one.
Okay. Okay, thank you, sir. Is there any more questions? Any more questions? Okay. Okay, thank you, sir. Next, we are is actually MSc 430 is a lengthy subject. Okay, now we given the only brief introduction only. If you have anybody want to learn about MSc 430, we are conducting some more training sessions and 1 week session, 15 days section. If you have anybody interest, register that one. Okay, we send the link as soon as possible through mails. Okay, thank you. Next, today's session is closed. Tomorrow we discuss. Tomorrow session is about the MATLAB and uses and benefits of the MATLAB. Okay. Thank you for participation. Good day.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.